Yeah, you read the title right, we're doing ghosts. If we're talking about the other two videos I've done in this same vein, those being Bigfoot and aliens, if we were to put them on a scale of most likely to be real to least likely, aliens being at the top of course, and Bigfoot being near the center point, and I don't know, Godzilla being at the bottom, ghosts would rank probably right around here. And I didn't do this video third by accident. I'm going to be mentioning and comparing the reasoning and actual logic behind ghost sightings and videos to those of Bigfoot and UFOs quite a lot actually. And that's because ghosts are just as, if not more ubiquitous than any other freaky entity. Like, a house can be haunted, but the sky isn't aliened and the woods aren't Bigfooted. We have an entire word for when there's ghosts kicking about. So why is that? Well, that's what I want to get into. You know the drill for these videos at this point. Let's talk origins, let's talk scientific explanations, let's talk famous stories. Let's do it all. There has to be a reason that ghosts are still so rooted in the back of everyone's mind, even in modern day, right? Well, let's find out. And as a special treat, I'm not going to say the word spooky for this entire video, so this will be a lovely respite for everyone. Shout out to Nuke's Top 5s on YouTube, by the way, made compiling all these ghost videos way easier. Just a small disclaimer here, I'm not going to jump scare you, but naturally some of these clips I'll be talking over do have some off-putting visual moments. They are ghost videos after all, but with my commentary over top of it and no stinger sound effect or ambient noise to build up to it, I figure all the actual scary bits have been sufficiently disarmed. So this video has been approved for ages 0 through 88. Thank you. So where did ghosts start? Well, they started pretty much near the start. Like, ever hear the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit? I mean, that's not even the half of it, like, mathematically. If we crank the timeline back to Babylonian times, ghosts were still being talked about back then. Like, sure, the people of those days had their mythologies, gods and demons, but they also had proper fall over dead, get back up as a ghost type shit too. We found a 3,500-year-old Mesopotamian depiction of a ghost etched into stone, being exorcised, complete with instructions. So ghosts have been in the human mind since agriculture was invented. We've been at least semi-worried about being haunted from spirits from beyond the grave since we figured out how to put seeds in the ground and wait. What, that's not good enough for you? Well, we can go back further, back to the start of recorded history in Egypt when they got the bright idea of starting to write what happened down. Even back then, ghosts were a common, well-accepted idea. Whether people really believed in them or not is hard to say, but there are confirmed stories and writings from all the way back then that mentioned proper ghosts. Dudes that used to be guys. And of course, the linchpin of having ghosts be at least a considered topic in these ancient cultures was the thought of an afterlife. More often back then, ghosts were summoned from wherever the spirit goes when they die in their respective cultures. It wasn't so much that they hung around and decided to spend their eternity throwing plates off of tables. So all the way back then, when we started writing history, ghosts were already an idea in the human mind. Who knows how far back the idea of ghosts could go then? It probably goes all the way back to whenever the first guy had the thought of what happens after you die, and that probably happened a good long while ago, you know what I mean? And since we still don't have a great answer to that question, I'm not a super religious guy, you can believe whatever you want to believe, don't yell at me, but we don't have an answer. So the idea of spirits or ghosts has persisted through all of human time on this planet. And since those ancient times, things have diversified. You know what I mean? You can think of 5 types of ghosts off the top of your dome piece without even trying. Like, watch this. Poltergeist, orbs, full apparition, possession, shadow people. See, it's easy. Ghosts have become so tied into media and culture, you don't even realize that you've gotten encyclopedic knowledge of what ghosts are. Like, when was the last time you heard a ghost story or saw a ghost video and it was some shit you've never heard, seen, or thought of? Never. Not since you were a kid, at least, because it's that ingrained in us. It's crazy once you realize it, but that doesn't mean we can't have our own personal favorites. Shadow people always tend to unnerve me the most. It's like, you know that thing where smiling masks are creepy because it puts forward an unnatural sense of a positive emotion, and you're not able to tell the actual emotion behind it? Shadow people are like that, but turned up to 11. And you get them a lot in modern, creepy ghost videos because they're very unsettling, very apparently not supposed to be normal people, and probably very easy to fake. Like, at the end of the day, they're just some black human-shaped blobs on screen. They could be anything. Your buddy dressed up in black, or a coat rack you threw a blanket over, or just some visual effects you edited over top a video of a creepy abandoned building. They're easy to put into a physical space because they're supposed to be a living shadow, right? They look unnatural. That's kind of their thing. So if they look kind of wonky or not real, your brain's like, well, that's kind of the point, actually. So in this weird roundabout way, them being so plain but also so obviously there really interests me. In modern day, though, cultures from all around the world have different kinds of ghosts that fuck with them in just the right way.
It's interesting, the ghosts.
Like, of course, you know Japan's obsession with strange, pale-skinned demon children, or the legend of La Llorona, the weeping woman from Mexico, or the countless stories of a woman in tattered clothes hitchhiking in the middle of the night, or jinns in the Middle East, Bloody Mary, this weird video of a so-called witch in India. And we don't have to stop at just ghost people, we got ghost dogs, dogs, ghost ships, ghost cities, ghost cars. There's ghost everything. Every culture seems to have their poison and their most endearing urban myths, and I think that's pretty cool.
Why have you kept this toaster?
Well, Richard, you know, when all is said and done, it makes good toast.
But of course, ghosts have evolved past just word of mouth, and modern day ghost videos are a dime a dozen. Hell, they've even invaded your parents' cable plan. Shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State, Scariest Places on Earth, Help, My House is Haunted, Portals to Hell, Paranormal Lockdown. Want me to keep going? I can. Kindred Spirits, Dead Files, Ghost Trackers. There's no end to them. And just like Bigfoot shows, what have they got to show for it? Absolutely nothing. Well, I guess if you count EVPs, they've got something. Electronic voice phenomenon for the uninitiated, which is when our ghost hunters wave around extremely sensitive microphones or radio receivers and ask questions. And any little blip they hear is instantly verbal pareidolia into a meaningful message from the other side. Side note, whatever happened to parabolic microphones on ghost hunting shows? Those were always my favorite. Anyway, these shows, just like the Bigfoot ones again, are inherently silly. Just a bunch of people wandering around in the dark, bug-eyed, listening for any little sound they can hook their claws into as evidence. Because despite all of the ghost stories they're told before their epic high-tech investigation starts of things being launched off of shelves or full apparitions making appearances, or what have you, the ghost hunters never do manage to catch anything of really eyebrow-raising quality, do they? This old creepy house that's supposed to be, quote, the most haunted place in America, in Europe, in the world, in the galaxy. And oh darn, the night we decided to investigate, the only thing that really happened was a bump from down the hallway and our cameras caught some dust falling from the ceiling. Oh well, next time on Season 10, Episode 14 of Ghost Inquirers, I bet we get a ghost for sure. The internet has been and will likely always be the place for ghost content. Good, bad, believable, and horribly fake. Like, you've probably got 1,000 paranormal videos being uploaded to the internet every day. Whether that be a TikTok kid dancing and something moving in the background, or a CCTV camera of a glass falling over in a bar for some reason, or a YouTube ghost hunter doing their best Blair Witch impersonation on the 60th hunt into an abandoned, probably asbestos-ridden, dilapidated building. But why? Using some logic, you have to assume that about 95% of those videos are being uploaded by people that are actively faking them, or really deep down know that what they're saying is paranormal isn't paranormal at all. So once again, we run into the Bigfoot type numbers where, alright, say the other 5% of people are convinced that what they've captured is truly paranormal, and they're not trying to fool anyone. Among the 5% of non-faked videos, a number I've honestly pulled out of thin air, how many could be the genuine article? Well, that's a lot harder to say, right? Like with Bigfoot, you've had a Bigfoot encounter on video when there's a big, weird, tall, brown thing in the distance that looks like it's a monkey walking on two legs. That's an experience. With UFOs, you pointed your camera up in the sky and saw some janky shit that doesn't have an immediate explanation because your camera sucks. With ghosts, it could be fucking anything. Driving down the road, thought you saw a scary lady out of the corner of your eye? Ghost. Your stack of 30 pizza boxes you've been meaning to throw out just fell over while no one else was in the room with them? That's a ghost. Your baby lost its balance in a weird way and fell over? Gotta be a ghost. Got a chill up your spine and felt like someone was watching you once when you were 10 years old? Ghost. Saw the horrible visage of a bloody-eyed screaming woman with her jaw unhinged like a snake in the mirror behind you? Well, I mean, you might be onto something with that one, but the stories of people seeing stuff like that and meaning it are very rare. And we'll get into some of the reasoning to why that is in a little bit here, but for now, let's stay on topic. So why would people just go online and fake ghost sightings or supernatural activity? Well, I mean, think about it. If you're being haunted or have a ghost video at least, that's a pretty cool little talking point, right? Like, your friends at high school are gonna think that's pretty nifty, and it's like tangible, right? Okay, say you want to see a ghost, a real ghost. You don't want to just see a UFO in the sky or a big maybe ape 500 feet away. You want to be in the same room with a supernatural entity. You want to be special. You want to have an experience you can't explain, that no one can explain. People are going to ask you about it, be interested in it, and by extension, be interested in you. Seems like a pretty wicked deal. The thing is though, man, you don't know where any ghosts are, or hell, if they're even real. So what can you do to get the attention anyway? Of course, you could just fake it. Like I said earlier, ghosts are just fucking anything you want them to be, basically. You don't even need to be creative. Hell yeah. And that's not to say every ghost video that's posted has that mindset behind it. I'm sure there are a handful of those haunted exploration videos where the creators really do get freaked out and start screaming because, yeah, they're in a really creepy spot and your brain just starts to run out of control when you get that scared. There are some, though, that are way over the top that are definitely fake. I was gonna say laughably fake, but they're not. They're executed really well. Like, I don't know how these people do these shots with doors moving and things falling, all seemingly without cutting or catching whoever's helping them with it on audio or video. It's pretty impressive, but fake all the same. Other classic examples of evidence are, like I mentioned, EVPs, and those are probably the least likely to be faked, but at the same time, the easiest to hand wave away is just some nonsense electrical interference the machine spat out. That is, other than I have the body of a pig, which I will play now. I know this video was confirmed fake a long time ago, but this has gotta be the scariest video on the internet, right? The idea of a ghost just saying, "I have the body of a pig," rattles me so hard, like, it makes me want to cry. What a scary idea. Alright, anyway, other evidence. Orbs? Come on, they're bugs or dust or something. Unless a ping pong ball died and it has some regrets so it still can't pass over to the other side. Similar to my fascination with shadow people and how they could just be anything the video maker wants them to be, my favorite general category of proof, quotations all around it, is the entity peeking around the corner. So perfect. It's like the idea of not showing the monster in a horror movie. It's way scarier when your mind comes up with its own scary possibilities. Once you see it, you know what to expect. It becomes less scary. So in these videos where there's something just ducking behind a wall or purposefully peeking out what looks like a head or a shoulder just a bit, I think it accomplishes the most. But of course, that comes with the fact that once again, it's one of the easiest categories to fake. All you gotta do is put Charlie around the corner and have him dart away at the right timing. Hell, you could even use Doug or Samantha. Anyone will do. And you're only gonna probably need a few takes too before you get something usable. And then, as you move up the power rankings of complexity, videos become fewer and further between. But why? Well, obviously, it's because ghosts have a harder time manifesting as clear apparitions, of course. It's science. Stephen Hawking famously said that. Ghosts have a harder time manifesting as clear apparitions. It's what he said. And then he went back to talking about black holes or whatever. No, the real reason is because you start to get diminishing returns. They're a lot harder to fake, and they're less believable. You see less poltergeist videos because people don't want to fuck up their mom's fine china. And also, you've got to string out fishing line all over the place. It's a whole thing. It's like an entire afternoon. It's just not worth it. One that seems to be locked into the world of television, though, is the infamous ghost scratching. Every now and then in a ghost investigation, you'll hear one of the people say they've been touched. And you can chalk that up to just being hyper aware and freaked out. But TV kicks it up a notch. There are shows that actually have the chutzpah to tell you that one of the investigators was scratched or otherwise lightly attacked by an invisible force. Of course, there's never any damage to their clothing or anything, only to their skin, which means the ghost phased through their clothes to inflict the crippling damage of a scratching to their bare flesh, which is a highly technical maneuver. What's more likely is the TV syndicated investigators had some makeup applied to their skin before they started filming. Come on. Unless I get a Chris Angel mind freak continuous camera shot, quotes all around it, on the scratched area for the entire investigation, I'll never believe you goddamn tricksters. But they have to pull that kind of stuff, right? There's only so many ways you can walk around a dark building and look scared. Because they can't really go in expecting to capture anything, because when was the last time you saw a video of an honest-to-God, 1080p, 60 frames per second, 240 hertz, motion smoothing off, keto-friendly ghost video? Never? Well, you want to see one? I can show you one. I'm obviously not showing you one. Are you kidding me? I'd like to, but the technology of capturing something that simply isn't there hasn't evolved yet. Once it does, though, those ghost investigating shows, their ratings are gonna shoot through the fucking roof. But if you think about it, if someone caught a ghost on video, the genuine article, it's either the spirit of a person who has died or a demon from hell or whatever. Would we believe it at this point? No matter how real it looked in the video, the lighting could be perfect, it doesn't look edited at all, it could look perfectly natural or perfectly supernatural, haha, anyway. I don't think anyone could ever possibly believe it, right? With what we can accomplish with video editing and CGI, if enough talent and money is put into it, you can make stuff look pretty much real. So if a real ghost was captured, no one would buy it. It's like they've become unprovable almost. Until we see constant, consistent, and repeatable exact evidence of either apparitions or intelligent invisible forces that can be seen in real time by men of science, the idea of proving they're real is not even reasonable. Even if someone caught a real one on camera, which is pretty crazy to think about. And constant, consistent, and repeatable is not the classic ghost modus operandi. It kind of comes with the territory. They just pop out at you whenever they seem to feel like it. But science, alright, that's a good point. For the people who genuinely believe they've had ghostly encounters, which actually I feel like I might maybe be included in that category. I don't know, something happened once. I just don't know what happened. I'll tell you later in this video. But for those people, what are some possible scientific explanations? Now, I'm not trying to hand wave away anyone's personal experiences. If you had an encounter that you truly believe to be factual, more power to you. I can't take that away from you. I'd actually be interested to hear about it in a comment. And while you're down there, you might as well click like and subscribe and whatever. Patreon's in the description. It's not a big deal. What? Okay, I'm sorry. Just, man's gotta eat, just relax. But what could be the reasons that people have these experiences that they truly believe are genuine, if we're saying ghosts are very likely not real? Well, surprisingly, there are a few answers to this question. The first explanation I want to talk about, and the trendiest in recent years, is infrasound. What's infrasound? That's a great question. Thanks for asking. I'm happy to get into it. Infrasound is any sound that falls into the range of 0.1 to 20 hertz, which is under the limit human beings can actually hear.
What?
Alright, so you can't hear it. Nothing to worry about then, right? Wrong. Just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect on your body. Actually, it does a lot to you. It kind of gets in your brain and causes a lot of things, including vertigo, nausea, imbalance, sometimes things as noticeable as vomiting, and yeah, even fear. And things like boilers or heating systems, refrigerators not running properly, have all been shown to be able to produce these sounds. There's this story of a university lecturer named Vic Tandy, whose lab was supposed to be haunted. Now, there were a bunch of machines running in there all the time, so Vic just thought people were hearing things on that account. But one night, Vic was alone in the lab doing some work, all the machines were turned off, and he got a weird feeling. A chill went up his spine. He felt uncomfortable, like he was being watched, and he had a cold sweat. He couldn't figure out what was going on. He turned off his desk fan to focus, to see if he could hear anything around him, but he couldn't. But he noticed now that these anxious feelings he was having had subsided. Weird. So he looked to his desk fan. It turns out his fan was emitting infrasound, and at the gnarliest frequency of all, 19 hertz. You know that famous thing opera singers can do when they break a wine glass with their voice? Well, not only opera singers can do it, you could probably do it with some practice and the right glass, but the glass breaks because the note that's hit matches the glass's resonant frequency. Now, basically all that means the sound vibrations of the note that's being hit vibrates the glass the most that a note could because of the material that it's made of. It just matches up. And over a short bit of time, since it's made of glass, it shatters. Now, if you apply that same principle to the human body, it turns out that all through the body, the resonant frequency falls squarely into the range of infrasound. But we're not made of glass, so we're not going to shatter, but it still has a big effect on you because it's literally vibrating your body, your inner ear, your heart, your brain, and even your eyes. You can't hear it, but it's still vibrating you, and that's where 19 hertz specifically comes back in. That's the resonant frequency of the human eye, and when your eyeball is vibrating and you don't even know it, you can start to see things that aren't actually physically there. And especially when you're in a scary environment, hoping or maybe dreading seeing something like a ghost, well, the brain is a powerful thing. Your entire body is operating in an unusual, uncomfortable state, and you don't even know it. It's like infrasound is built to make humans feel like a place is haunted. Back with our boy Vic Tandy, he was actually part of a research group that went to the famous Warwick Castle in the United Kingdom, which is also very famously haunted. He also did a research outing to the basement of Coventry's Tourist Information Center, I guess. Sounds less ghostly, but apparently very haunted just the same. In both cases, Vic found high levels of infrasound all over the place in there, thus directly tying the thought of historic haunted sites to infrasound. And also basements, which also counts. Also important. Alright, but you're convinced that your haunting has nothing to do with infrasound, even though there's no way you could have detected it yourself. Fair enough. I can see where you're coming from, so let's move on to some of the other possibilities then. Alright, how about something equally as imperceivable, but just as likely to have a hand in at least some sightings? Electromagnetic fields. Now, you know that ghost hunters bring electromagnetic field detectors, shortened to EMF detectors, on ghost hunts all the time, because they believe that they're the effects of ghosts being nearby, but the science says it's probably the opposite. They're not the effect, they're the cause. EMF pulses hitting the right parts of your brain have been shown to produce the feeling of someone standing behind you, and in some studies they've been shown to affect how people answer moral dilemmas. Like, big things get rattled up in your brain. It's not too far of a stretch to believe that they could also produce hallucinations in some people, and classically, as if it were written, a large number of so-called haunted locations have high levels of electromagnetic fluctuations. So once again, combine these factors along with the frightened human brain, and then you add Kurt Angle to the mix, the chances of winning drastic go down. And it's not just unseen forces acting upon your body that can freak you out. The phenomenon of mass hysteria, especially in these urban exploration ghost hunt videos, is definitely on the table. You've of course heard of mass hysteria, where a person can feel the effects of an illness based solely on the fact that those around them are feeling the effects of that illness. And that effect can cascade into tens or hundreds of people feeling those effects when they wouldn't have otherwise. But the phenomenon doesn't just stop at illnesses. You've no doubt heard of the infamous example of the dancing plague, where people literally danced themselves to death for seemingly no other reason than because they felt unable to stop, and so did those around them. Alright, but that can't explain people seeing, I'm getting to that. Ever hear of the miracle of the sun? In 1917, in Portugal, apparently the Virgin Mary appeared to 3 children, and told them she would reappear in a few days to perform miracles. They of course told everyone in their town, and on that day, tens of thousands of people reported seeing the sun grow, shrink, shoot out multicolored lights, and zigzag across the sky. While it was considered a miracle back in in the day, the more accepted theory nowadays was it was an enormous case of visual hallucinations caused by mass hysteria on the religious town. So that leads us back to ghosts. If you and 5 of your friends are going on a ghost hunt to a building that looks like it was fucking built just so it could be haunted later, and you're all freaking out, being scared in an endless feedback loop, yeah, just the vibes of you and your friends around you can literally cause you to see things. The human brain is a master of fooling itself, and for good reason. The humans back in the day where if there was something dangerous lurking in the dark mattered on a daily basis, the ones that were more consistently fooled into thinking there was something dangerous, even if there wasn't, probably lived longer, and got to pass on their genes. We're evolutionarily wired to be scared of these things. It's a good thing. And at the end of the day, we kind of like being scared a little bit, you know? That's why horror movies exist. That's why these scary video compilations get millions of views. And it's probably why, sometimes, our brain tricks us into seeing ghosts. And now that we're the ultimate no one can fuck with us dominant species on the planet, we don't get to have those feelings very much anymore, unless we go looking for it. So it probably feels good somewhere in the synapses of our monkey brains to flex those muscles sometimes, right? But sometimes you have an experience that none of these scientific explanations seem to fit for. And I'm sure there's someone watching this right now that feels that way. And fuck yeah, if you think you've had a genuine experience, I believe you, because I personally had something like that happen to me. I saved this bit for last because I wasn't sure if I was going to include it, because I've never told anyone this. Despite all these debunkings and how long I've been dunking on ghost media in this video, I had an experience that I can't explain. And it's pretty personal, but I'd like to share it. And I'm probably gonna leave the screen blank for this because I don't want to do a bunch of wacky visuals over top of this. It wouldn't feel right. A handful of years ago now, I had a death in the family, and it hit everyone really hard. I think it was the day after it happened. I was just in the bathroom looking in the mirror, just talking to the family member I had lost. Kinda just mouthing words, barely whispering. But I said, if you can hear me, just give me any sign you can. And as soon as I said that, 2 little knocks on the bathroom door. And it startles me big time. I'm like, whoa, what the hell, right? So then I say again, in the same kind of whisper, if that was you, do it again. And immediately, literally as soon as I said it, it happened again. Hand of God. So naturally, I open the bathroom door right after, look around, and there's no one there. Dad's sitting in the living room down the hallway, but other than him, no one's there at all. I don't have an explanation. It could have been any number of things that fooled me there, I'm not sure. It could have been an auditory hallucination. I was grieving. I just heard something I wanted to hear. Because of that experience and how clear as day it was to me, despite everything I've said in this video, I can't fully discount ghosts, or spirits, or forces from beyond the grave. And that's why I've tried to stress the point of, I feel if you think you've had a genuine ghostly moment, don't let someone else tell you otherwise, or let these fake-ass videos online discredit you. Fuck it, they know better than you about your own encounter? What do they know? Only you can really know deep down. Alright, enough with the heavy stuff. The final question. Are ghosts real? Almost certainly not. There are endless ways to explain any given encounter with a supernatural being, and I'm sure if you applied enough of them to a situation, you'd find a reasonable answer. The thing is, though, we can never be totally sure because of the nature of them. But our fascination with what happens after we die, combined with the genuine like of being afraid sometimes, is a perfect recipe for our invisible buddies to never really leave the back of our minds on a cultural level. With Bigfoot and aliens, I had a clearer-cut conclusion on where I stand on them existing or not, but with ghosts, it's not so easy. I feel like the logical thing would be to say that ghosts aren't real until you personally have an encounter of some kind. That seems perfectly fine to me. But if and when you do have that encounter, you'll be in the same situation I'm in now, where I know the debunkings, the science, the reasoning, that my brain plays tricks on me, but I still heard what I heard. So at the end of the day, are ghosts real? No, definitely not. Full stop. But maybe. Patron shoutouts. If you want to see 2 brand new videos from me, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. Agent Rhino, who stopped a convenience store robbery by catching each bullet with a different bicuspid. Danger Stranger, who ordered a prop sword online, but they sent him the wrong one, so now he has a real steel blade with the enchantment that gives him the power to ford any river. Fat Houdini, who tied 2 unicycles together to create the bi-unicycle, having trouble patenting it though for some reason. Omega Fighter, who skipped leg day so often the meter rolled over in the other direction, so now they have the strongest human legs on the planet. Sean Martin, who went to find out what those pyramids in Antarctica are about, and when he came back, he just said we should leave them alone. Unrelated, he can now shoot freeze rays out of his eyes, I guess. Stephanie Riches, who as a kid phased over one reality to the left, and she still thinks about that weird barracuda person she saw like all the time. Thomas Lautenbach, who has a set of 400 diamond stairs that lead up to his modest suburban apartment. Tiago Nascimento, who had the choice between a normal apartment and a ghost roommate, or a normal roommate and a ghost apartment. And it's really hard to keep leftovers when they just phase through the fridge, so, you know. 'Tis just Lee, who thinks on vibrations 3 or 4 levels higher than most humans, making him immune to psychic attacks of threat level orange and below. Varunda, who found an actual real alien signal on their ham radio, and it sounded weirdly like a Carly Rae Jepsen song. And Whitrow, who was so fast they can cover 5 minutes in 4 minutes. Yeah, that fast. And of course, my god overanalyzers, Two Boots Are Beat, Andrew Wattrit, Austin Gallup, Be My Valentine, Daniel Anderson, Dizzy Payne, Dominic Saint, Distant, Aaron Grace, It's Carton, Jackson, John Ajaka, Justin Fletchall, Mr. Freese, Nicholas Abbott, Peter Bayron, Phil, Philip Conti, Pogger White, Reese, Rocket Mist, Ryan Maxwell, Samuel Vanderplaat, Super Snipper, Turt Bobs, and the Bearface. Next up, back to the comics probably.